All right, Dad Bod episode 10, starting with Deload deadlifts. Worked up to 355 for 2 doubles. Also, would love to get some input on that little lamp I have in the corner over there. I can do solid colors or have this pulsing wave of lots of colors. I kind of thought it looked cool. And like I mentioned in the last video, just adding little things to the garage to make it a little more appealing. So that's the newest addition. It's a cheap one from Walmart. It was easy to set up, so I like it. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but definitely let me know if it is. Training was nothing special. I am feeling ready at this point to get back into some challenging weights, so that means the deload is doing its job. As I record this, I have one more deloaded squat session, and I'm not sure that I was clear in the previous video talking about deloads. I talked about how my squat didn't really feel like it needed a deload. I am going to go ahead with the deload for all the main lifts anyway. So there will be one lighter squat session, and then the bench press session, which is on the following day, will be back to challenging weights. So that actually works out too, because the squat session will be shorter, lower intensity, lower volume, so I'll be even more recovered going into that bench press session. So most of the workouts this week took 45 minutes or less, so that was kind of nice, especially with the busy schedule. Again, looking forward to some more challenging stuff, but it will mean that the sessions take longer. And as usual, I am bouncing back and forth between exercises. That's because I was supersetting them. It's actually pretty difficult to superset deadlifts and leg extensions because I don't have enough 45-pound plates. I have like 550 pounds total of weight, and for the most part, that's plenty for me right now. But when I'm doing deadlifts, I'm using between 300 and 400 pounds, and that doesn't leave enough weight for the leg extension. But for Romanian deadlifts, this style, I'm not using the 45s, so it works out. So I superset here, and you'll see my last set of leg extensions going into the drop set. And for that, I'm just taking that 45-pound plate off. I'll fast forward through the rest period, and then you'll see the drop set. And even with just one warm-up set, 3 working sets, including that drop set on leg extensions, I had a pretty good quad pump. So that's all I'm really going for this week, just maintaining leg size I have. Don't want to detrain necessarily, just want to recover a little. So this is that last set into the drop set here. And I have gotten quite a bit of feedback lately on the recently posted videos. I've had at least one person ask about how I came to my current training split. So I think I'm going to post an entire video on that. That will be a little bit more scripted than my usual stuff. So if you would like to see more content like that is at least semi-educational, please comment, because I'm willing to do other stuff. I don't want this channel to be only training logs. That's kind of how it started 11 years ago or so, but I gradually talked more and more, which hopefully hasn't been too bad. And I do want to do some other things with the channel. I'm just kind of figuring out which direction I want to go. There are already plenty of educational fitness channels, or fitness channels that call themselves educational. There are quite a few that are really good. I would definitely recommend Jeff Nippard, anything from Stronger by Science or Mass. So that's Greg Knuckles, Mike Zordos, Eric Helms, some other people. Team 3DMJ, which is also Eric Helms, Alberto Nunez, Jeff Alberts, Lane Norton. Definitely recommend all of those. They're science-based. And if it helps, pretty much all of them are considerably stronger with considerably better physiques than mine. So if that is what you're going for, that never hurts, right? And we're into my deload bench. It's just 190 pounds for 3x5. This is basically body weight. And for these, I do try to get as much bar speed as I can, even though it's a deload week. It's not as challenging weight-wise, but I want to at least put some effort into this with the Donuts and Deadlifts Krispy Kreme style shirt. Has a couple of coffee stains on it, but I guess that's appropriate. In other news, I think we'll be installing the new light setup in here. Well, it could be this week, but I'm going to be out of town the end of this week. So if it's not this week, it will be next week. My father-in-law's already got it over at my house, but I definitely need him to help me install it without electrocuting myself. And you may hear some more grunting during this. That again is not me. That's pretty much never me. That's Sam Sulik. Don't know what exercise he's doing, but didn't pause it for this set. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Clearly didn't on that one. And yeah, so you're seeing this setup for pull-ups. This was actually much easier to do this day because the volume was so low. So I did pull-ups afterwards and was supersetting them with the accessory exercise for chest, which was just push-ups with my feet elevated. And for pull-ups, a lot of the time my warm-up is just a shorter set of pull-ups just to make sure nothing feels iffy. And the primary concern for me on pull-ups is if my left bicep is bothering me. I will find out during the warm-up set, and then I may need to adjust and do a different exercise. But on this day, it felt fine, and I was only doing 2 sets of 8. Those sets went well, and you'll see that first set coming up next right after these. And I guess we're at the point in the video where I can talk about some things outside of training. If you hate this part, then that's okay. So I'll just talk about an experience I had recently. So I used to listen to a pretty prominent podcast. This isn't the Rogan podcast, not that prominent. But the reason the host even showed up on my radar, my social media feed, was primarily because this person had been an open and public conservative for their entire career. I had not really known of them before then. But this person left the Republican Party because of the candidate it nominated in 2016. And I ended up really enjoying what this person had to say on a variety of subjects, but not on anything scientific. Anytime nutrition came up, training came up, healthcare came up, this person demonstrated their ignorance every time. And even with pushback from people like me and pushback from myself, comments and things like that on their posts, just dug their heels in instead of trying to take in new information. And by around 2021 or 2022, I could tell that this podcast host was no longer feeling the way they had in 2016. And it looks like I was correct. This person posted a new video following the election. And the reason I'm not using the name isn't because I'm afraid of fallout or anything like that. It's just because this channel's tiny. The person I'm talking about will never see this, and I don't want it to be too one-sided. So I checked into the video after not having watched or listened to this podcast in years, really just in hopes that I'd been wrong. I had not been wrong. And in the video, there was really no justification for removing yourself from the Republican Party in 2016 because of Trump, and then voting for Trump in 2024. Trump is not better now. I understand that people are upset with wokeism, but usually wokeism is wild exaggerations from the right. And that's just an objective fact. So anyway, I was again disappointed in this podcaster and confirmed that I don't have that podcast to go back to. So maybe I'll find another one to replace it. But I will say the show this person puts on is the best. It's not a political podcast, and they do a great job there. But I am just 100% sure that you can't call yourself evidence-based and support the party that it's doing its best, clearly, to eliminate science as a tool for moving the country and the world forward. And I've said this before, I know this is a fitness channel, but I do think speaking my mind is important too. And most of the big fitness names, many of the ones I mentioned at the beginning of the video, will never mention politics or political figures for their own good, I understand. But if you really pay attention, you can almost always tell. And all of the ones who have consistently been science and evidence-based are not voting for the Conservative Party. I can tell you that. And I think that's important. And to be clear, I am talking about the United States specifically. I won't pretend to have knowledge outside of the country that affects me directly. So I hope I didn't lose you there. The people I want here watching this, for the most part, are people not who agree with me on everything, but who can at least follow the evidence and the science and are media literate and not totally unwilling to take in new information. I've been wrong before. No one likes to be wrong. It's always a little difficult to change your mind on something, but I've done it many times, and I feel like most of the people around me who are above a certain age have never thought deeply about their positions on most things and have continued to believe those things by digging their heels in and not accepting new information. And for me, it's frustrating. That's not the way I want to live my life, and that's not the example I want to set for my daughter. It's not the example I want to set for my friends, and it's not the example I want to set for anybody who's watching on YouTube. So I will continue to speak openly about it. So if you've been a subscriber for a long time and you now hate this channel and don't want to watch it anymore, then just know that all the videos you've watched in the past were created by me, and I have felt this way the entire time. And so we're close to the end of the training for this video, so I'll get back to it just to close this out. Seeing calf raises, this is how I do them if I'm using this lever arm. It was already set up from some previous exercise, I think rows from the day before. So I went ahead and set up here. Even with those blocks, I have to put 25-pound plates underneath them to get the right height, which is part of the annoyance of setting this up and why I tend to use the bench and just hold a weight. But this is what I ended up doing this day. And then the last exercise you'll see will be hanging leg raises, just 2 sets of 12. Just make sure to control it on the way down. Make sure I'm using my abs, not my hip flexors, to do this. And I always feel this pretty much 100% in my abs. So that's a good sign that I'm doing it right. And I think that's it for Dad Bod episode 10. Please like, share, and subscribe if you liked it, and don't if you didn't. I appreciate it.